Good morning, everyone. Welcome to NAB 2013 and welcome to the Autodesk booth. I'm very happy to introduce the next guest demonstration from a good friend and one of my favorite flame artists in the world, Vico Sharabani from the Artery. Welcome, Vico.
Thank you, Bill. Always good to be here.
And we have a really exciting presentation to take you through. We've done a lot of guest presentations together through the years, and I think we've actually had a lot of fun sort of showing off the fine work that you do with Flame and now Flame Premium. And you've also been one of my test cases on taking one of our longtime users. I think it's 18 years you've been using Flame.
Correct.
From
since 95.
Since 1995, from the previous version to the brand new 20th anniversary edition of Flame Premium, which has a lot of UI and workflow enhancements that maybe kind of mess up your muscle memory for a little while, but also allow you to do so many more new things. So it's great to have you here to kind of validate your experiences with the new version.
Thank you.
Last year we did a presentation where you showed off a really cool piece. So I thought we'd start with a little look back at the Nicki Minaj music video that was with David Guetta as well.
Yes, last year I was here with Alex Frisch. We showed the iconic video for Nicki Minaj and David Guetta. It's about 200 million views right now. And these are the scenes that we showed. We had an amazing team that worked on this. Scott Metzger, Joe Harkins, Marco Yotzi, and Tal Shuv worked with us on this. And here are some of the passes and reminder of the images that we showed last year. This year, because I'm working on Flame Premium and everything that I'm going to be showing is on the box, then I'll be able to show, for example, in this scene, how we replace the heads into mannequins, and all of this head replacement was done within Flame. So in here, if I go back to my timeline, you can see in here that each one of the scenes is actually an alive setup. I can go back into the setup and see how all of the elements are there. The heads that were done in here are still alive, and they're being rendered on the fly in different passes. This is the reflection pass, the beauty, and the alpha. Everything is interactive, and I can go into each one of the setups and keep it alive. So that was one thing that we showed last year.
Yeah, so just for a little context, if you're not familiar with Flame Premium, it really brings together the three main disciplines of finishing, right? You have your editing and your conforming, you have your visual effects, and then you also have real-time grading. The other thing that I like to point out to folks is that Flame artists tend to be creative directors. They tend to lead teams of people. Lots of CG artists and compers, they all send their shots into the Flame for final finishing. And the beauty of Flame is you have this high-speed HP workstation running Linux that allows you to really keep up that interactivity and allow you to move through a lot of shots very quickly. And then you're also working in the context of the overall job. You have the entire timeline. Everything you're going to see here in this demonstration is a live timeline with many, many shots that you can then step into and out of to make your adjustments.
Correct, and this is how I like to work. I like a clean environment and the ability to switch between different projects and different elements seamlessly, and everything is alive, as we're going to see it right in the next examples.
So since last year, you've had a few changes.
Correct.
You're still in New York,
yep.
But a little rebranding and a little move to a new location?
Yes, we rebranded to the Artery VFX, and we reside within Harbor Picture Company, which is a new facility built from the ground up.
Down on Varick, I think?
Varick and King, yes, right? Downtown Manhattan. So we're having a lot of fun there.
It's a cool place.
Definitely cool place and great talent together. And we managed to work on a lot of feature films. If we take a look at the list of projects, last year we worked on 2 or 3 films, and this year only we're already into the 8th feature film. So a lot of work is being pushed through our facility, and we based it around the Flame Premium, which allows us to push through a lot of work with a small amount of people.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, Flame is really, recognized as one of the best tool sets in the world. But beyond that, you can actually build an entire facility around a small team, and that's something that we like to also remind people of. So, I mean, what a business opportunity. With one flame in 2012, you did 2 films, and just in the first quarter of 2013, you've already done 8 feature films. You can see a few of them listed here.
And the association or the talent associated to the films is really great. We're going to see some of the breakdowns on A Late Quartet, which is a film starring Christopher Walken, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Catherine Keener. Definitely a great cast. They're playing a string quartet. And there's been a lot of work, 160 shots on that particular
160
show.
Just on this particular
Only on
film.
this show, yes. And we're going to see some examples are the taxi scene, which is a 3.5-minute taxi scene that usually you can detect. Those taxi scenes are being comped. In this particular case, it was very important for me to have lighting interaction with the environment, proper stabilization or tracking shakes into the scene. And we can take a look in here, the way that,
And just while you're finding that shot, I just wanted to mention that, you know, you did 160 shots, but we like to say that in a film like this, they were invisible effects or seamless effects, things that you wouldn't be noticing in the film because you don't want to distract people from the actual dialogue in this case. So you're doing this interior taxi scene. We know there's been a lot of, you know, funny-looking taxi scenes where it's obvious that the people are in a chroma key environment. In this case, you've really gone to all the subtleties to make sure you can sell that shot, not make it distracting to the audience so that they can really pay attention to the dialogue.
Yeah, definitely. The level of detail that director Yaron Zilberman wanted to have in here was enormous. We actually started with plates of shooting in New York City, but he was very detailed about the journey of the taxi, the number of taxis in the scene. So in here you can see how we added taxis in the back in order to fill in the environment behind.
It was too empty behind them before.
Yes, at certain times he wanted more more traffic in the background, or maybe it was a little bit dark in the background, so we added this taxi, and all of a sudden we are able to glow and justify the lighting conditions that were shot on the green screen. So here is a good example of how this particular taxi is lighting up the environment, and with the final color grade, you get to you get a much richer experience.
Yeah, and so that actually is an interesting part of the compositing process here. It's not just putting layers on top of each other, but you're actually including some relighting. In this case, applying lights to the headlamps for the taxis, and actually have them in 3D space be able to naturally occlude behind objects, depending on where you place them in the environment?
Yes, that's a good point. Maybe I'll go back, let me double click and go back into this setup and show that happening in real time. So if I go to one of the frames that we see here, we can see the lens flare. The lens flare is actually alive inside of action, so I can increase the intensity of it, and every time that the lens flare goes behind the talent, it disappears and gives us that feeling of a live action play.
And you can track these lights to the headlamps, or to the actual movement of the taxi itself. So it just adds to that realism. So that's one of the examples. There's also another example from A Late Quartet that you did, which I think highlights again the power of being able to do these heavy-duty invisible effects. And that was this crowd replication scene.
Correct. In here, because it's a string quartet, a lot of concert shots, and we had a lot of crowd duplications. Obviously, we can see how we're building it up in my timeline and applying the final color grade just to stacking up the different versions in my timeline. And this is how the session is actually happening. This is not just a demonstration. Bouncing between the projects and seeing all of the elements accessible to me this way is how we work. That's how we
You're sort of simulating a flame session here.
Exactly.
But what's interesting here, again, in terms of production to post-production, it's obvious that you're not going to hire this many actors to fill up the entire auditorium. So it's very important to plan these shots out, Basically, know what you're doing. Be on the set.
Yeah, definitely be on set.
And then know that you can execute this in post-production on the Flame. You'll basically take all those different actors and put them in different chairs and then move them around using different layers of compositing.
Exactly.
Adjust the timing and so on.
Yep.
Okay, so that's last year. The look back, a lot of success so far in the first quarter around films, but you are sort of the master of the music video. I mean, at least the epic, high-end music video, not the cheesy ones that we sometimes see. And when you have big budget music video, I think that just sort of puts the pressure on, especially when you have a tight time frame like you did for this. This is the Coldplay and Rihanna music video for Princess of China, which is a really beautiful piece. We're going to play it in just a minute, but tell us a little bit about this project.
This video was nominated for Best Direction and Best Cinematography. Best Cinematography is obviously a very good compliment for VFX House for the work that I'm going to show you right now. Let's start with seeing the clip and then talk about it.
Yeah, let's play this down. So we're going to sort of break the flow of our presentation just for a moment to show you the actual final music video for Coldplay and Rihanna.
Somebody ran away, saying fast as I can. I got to go. I got to go. Once upon a time we fell apart. You're holding in your hands the two halves of my heart. Oh, oh.
Once upon a time we burned
So this video was directed by Ed Ripetti and Alan Beebe, and we actually collaborated with a company called Quietman in order to finish up this music video. It was obviously an homage for the Kung Fu films that we all love, and it was shot entirely on green screen. So here we can see a little bit of the plates and the way that it was shot. Everything that we generated was environments as matte paintings in flame.
Yeah, and that there was definitely a very particular look, the old, wink to the classic kung fu movies that had that stylized, sort of iconic, again.
Remastered feeling, yes,
yeah.
definitely something that we were very conscious about. And in here, I can take you through the footage, and as I mentioned before, this is the live project. So in my timeline, I have the green screen footage, I have the first composite, and then the final grade on top of it. This is how I'm stacking up and organizing the scene.
So what were some of the challenges? I mean, again, maybe not so obvious, some of the things that needed to be done, but I think this is a good place to start. Maybe some of the adjustments that need to be made between different green screen shots, the timing of things.
So first of all, we were brought fairly late in the game. We were tasked in designing and finishing up 65 shots in 12 days.
Wow.
It was really an intense process, but very creative and fun. A lot of it is, as you mentioned, every one of the scene, we started building the matte paintings, and we didn't necessarily know how it's going to end. It was fairly fluid and flexible and kept it creative. The directors were with us all the time. So, for example, in here we can take a look at how we build a matte painting of the background and the environment. This particular scene was planned to be a sunset, and then when we saw the beautiful matte paintings that Marco was building, here we can see how he's I'll show you how he's building all the elements together, taking the sky that he just shot and adding some fantasy to it. When we saw that, we actually wanted to repurpose that, and we brought it into the...
It was used later on for these shots, right?
Yes, definitely. So going back into the dojo scene, I'll double-click and go into this setup and show, in this particular case, we had a couple of different elements that we put together. We tried to synchronize the dojo
the
warriors.
ninjas, yeah.
Yep. Then we stretched or created this set extensions.
Right.
And put it together with the matte paintings that I just showed you that is being built up. The rest of the pipeline is more about atmospherics and adding the different light shafts, different integration in atmospherics. I'm going to run through just for time purposes and show more of the scenes, maybe.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a pretty basic scene. Again, the flexibility of using the procedural compositing workflow allowed you to change something that was originally thought to be a sunset scene into a moonlit scene. The timing of the various ninja takes, the green screen elements coming together, combined in this atmospheric environment, right? So that was the original look,
Yeah.
and then you took it a different direction later.
Exactly. Yeah, the process was such that we designed the scenes, and when we put them together back to back, we wanted to have this richness of colors, changes, different times of day, make it a rich, almost like a trailer for a feature film.
It
right?
felt like a film, actually. So the next shot, I think, is also quite a beautiful shot. This is when we first see Rihanna with the doors open and she's revealed inside a much warmer environment with these lanterns. And I think that was also something you mentioned in terms of the design. You started with just a Photoshop frame,
Yes,
and you brought that into the 3D environment action.
Yes, so let me actually do exactly what we've done in production. We went to our Photoshop file, and I'll load a Photoshop file to a new action, and show, just because we were organized, we had a short amount of time, so we were very, very organized. And the flame brings in the Photoshop file already broken down to the different elements, and we can see that if I move around this particular orbit around, it is a flat matte
Of course.
painting, right? And this is something that Flame actually prepared us the setup. When I loaded the Photoshop file, it broke it into all of the layers.
And everything's in position.
Yep, already ready for us to take another axis and just move this in Z position the lanterns. In this particular case, we use the auto scale functionality that when I move in Z space, I maintain the composition of
Right,
the layers.
it just automatically scales it down and
Yeah.
doesn't look any different from the front view.
Exactly. This looks like I'm not doing anything, but if I orbit around, you'll see that this lantern is now in 3D space.
Right.
Applying that into all of the elements was a fairly quick thing, and then I was able to generate this a 3D environment, basically, or cheat of a 3D environment
Right.
very quickly.
And that also allowed you, because you have that camera in this 3D environment, to create real parallax. So as things are closer to the camera, they're more affected as you dolly into the shot.
Correct. So here we can see how the shot is coming alive. We actually added some wiggle to the lanterns.
So the lanterns are slightly moving on another axis.
Yep, so that completes the illusion of a live action plate.
Right.
And again, just because of time constraints and trying to make things the most efficient, this room actually returns later on. We replace the lanterns. Again, you can see that all of the lanterns are moving around, wobbling in the wind. But we wanted to have this production value, and by changing the lanterns, we got a new environment, basically.
Would you mind showing, actually going into that setup and showing the dancers behind? Because at first I thought that was also done with compositing, but that was actually done on set. So it's really kind of neat to see.
Yes, the director shot a fantastic performance of these hands. We obviously
Unbelievable.
manipulated, but we composite Rihanna together with these performances
Yeah.
and into our environment.
It's so cool. So I think we have time for take a look at one more shot, and that was the title sequence, which again in the homage to the Kung Fu movie needed to be manipulated a bit, and you use some of the internal sort of plugins in the system that come in the tool set to do sort of image treatment.
Sure. Yes, we did want the degraded film look, film quality, and it was something that at the beginning you see it much more, and I'll play a little bit. In here, the film was much more degraded, but throughout the film you can see the different dust speckles, different hits of here. That was a good example of those blotches. All of these things were generated inside of Flame as well, using the damage tool. So if I click back in here, we can see that the damage tool give us the ability to control the blotches, grain, dust, flicker, and jitter of the scene, and we just played around and chose our balance.
It's
of
an
those.
automatic tool. Basically, all the settings are there. They can all be animated. There's actually presets that you can start with. So again, these are just great, starting points for applying a particular type of an effect.
Definitely, and in this particular case, we actually had those titles that when we comp them, they feel very sharp, and I wanted that feeling of a VHS, like a degraded VHS look, and we used the blur node that allows us to blur chroma only, just to give that final touch. Overall, it was very nice to have the ability to start and work on different projects as a live timeline, stacking up our versions and all the creative tools available for us.
Well, I think that's a great tour of this particular, again, very iconic, epic, almost like a mini film music video with Coldplay and Rihanna for Princess of China. I think that was really beautiful. Also, so happy to hear about your success around the feature films. Again, a company with, what, 5 or 6 people?
Yeah, we're under 10 people, and we expand and contract depending on the workload, depending on the needs of the project.
Right, but that allows you the flexibility of really being able to do things your way, and keeping things simple and small, and a small team, but it's like a little family over there, and creating some amazing work.
Yeah, I always say that you can always add more artists, and your productivity will grow up linearly that's a well-known fact. But the toll on the management grows exponentially, and this is something that in tight deadlines, tight budgets, very creative work, it's something that the Flame allows us to push through a lot of work.
Yeah, and I think that's really the message, is that if you buy Flame or Flame Premium and get the right artist, I mean, you can build a whole company around that and get so much high quality work out the door. So thank you very much. Big round of applause for Vico Sharabani from the Artery in New York. Thank you so much for sharing your fine work with us.